Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're coming to you live from the Talmud Lunch and Learn, where every Friday at 12:30, soon to be back to 12 o'clock, we get together to study Talmud and to learn the insights and wisdom of our sages to the words, to understanding and the lessons of the Torah. So this week's Parsha we have Vayimale oto ruach Elokim b'chachma b'tvuna u'b'dat u'b'chol melacha. And Hashem filled him, who's him, Bezalel, who was the craftsman of the tabernacle, with godly spirit, with wisdom, with insight and knowledge, and with every craft. So our sages tell us that Bezalel, who was in charge of the building of the tabernacle, knew how to connect the letters that were used in creating heaven and earth. That means he had the power of bringing together opposites. And our sages talk a lot about this idea of connecting opposites, the great wisdom of a sage, of a Torah scholar, the great wisdom of someone who's godly is their ability to be able to converge opposites, to bring opposites together. And that's a very, very important idea in Judaism, because in Judaism we have two concepts. We have something which is called spirituality, or actually in the world, not only in Judaism, but there's something called spirituality, and then there's something called materialism, or physicality. And the problem is, how do you converge the two? And what many people, many religions have done is they've completely separated themselves, they've isolated themselves. In order to be holy, they needed to completely remove themselves from any type of physical pleasure, right? If you want to attain great spiritual heights, you have to remove yourself from physical. In Judaism, we say no, we don't separate the two, but rather we combine the two and elevate them. Okay, so we don't see rabbis not getting married in order to be holy. On the contrary, a rabbi has to be married, right? And through that element of physicality, we elevate ourselves spiritually. But there's this constant battle that in the world is very misunderstood of physical and spiritual. Now there have been many great philosophers who preached great values and morals and ethics, but didn't act that way. It means they weren't able to connect the two. We can preach something, but is that the way we act necessarily? And it's told about Aristotle, that Aristotle lived a very promiscuous lifestyle, and his disciples had found him in a very compromising situation, and they asked him, "How's it possible? You're the great Aristotle. How can you live like this?" And he said, "No, now I'm not Aristotle. Now I'm just me." And that's a terrible thing. In Judaism, we see that terribly, because you can't be one person here and one person there. You can't preach the rabbinate from the pulpit, but then the way you act in your private life or the way you act with other people individually is totally different. That's not the way it works. Which means your actions have to match your words. And your words have to match your actions. Your deeds, your spirituality has to match your physicality. And a person, it's interesting that there are people out there in the world who have tremendous powers, either Kabbalistic sages or other people who have other types of, senses, and they can tell a person's spiritual state from their physical state. They can see it right on their face. Sometimes they can tell by names. There are different things that they can discern. But the idea is that we need to not live in a contradiction. And what I find many times today is that there are movements dedicated to contradiction of action versus words. They have certain ideology, but that's not the way they live. And it's a very dangerous thing, especially in Judaism, because people are searching for knowledge, people are searching for wisdom, people are searching for closeness to God, people are searching for a connection, and it's difficult for people to find that connection right? If they don't have something real that they're being taught. And that's what we find in many, many places. Sadly, people want to learn and they're not capable of teaching, right? They're not capable of learning because those who are above them, those who should be knowing more, don't know more. And it becomes a very, very big problem. So it's not enough for us to talk about greatness in Judaism, in greatness of spirituality. We have to actually act on it. And in the Torah we see, it talks about Shabbos, right? It talks about observing the mitzvahs. It talks about many, many fundamental values, right? And one of those is animal rights. One of them, right? It's not to do with tzar balei chaim, not to hurt animals, right? But that isn't the entire Torah. There are many other important teachings of the Torah, which for some reason are neglected, while people pick and choose. We have to be very, very careful about that. That to be Torah Jews, to be people who are serving God, we can't pick and choose what He says, what God teaches us in the Torah, but rather to be inside like outside and outside like inside. To be a Jew, we have to be immersed in our Judaism. We have to be immersed in our connection, and it shouldn't be two separate things. Well, I'm a Jew when I come to synagogue, but when I'm not in synagogue, it comes off and nobody knows who I am. Right? No, we have to be the same thing inside and outside. Hashem should bless us all that we should have the quality of Bitzalel, the craftsman of the tabernacle, where our inside should be like our outside, and we should practice what we preach, and we should have our physical life and our spiritual life converge together to bring holiness to the world. Thank you, our dear friends on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. We're going to continue our regular class now, our regular Talmud class, and you're welcome to like and share if you liked it. Please like it, but if you didn't like it, then at least share it. Maybe somebody else will. Right? Pascal, you agree? Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Shabbos, my friends.